what will be the economic impact on China's economy in view of India's ban of more than 50 apps in India? What will be the reverse impact on India? Will the buyers still get a chance to use budget-friendly mobiles or computer? This is a question from Rosling.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me, right?
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
So yeah, that's a good question. I would actually want to take that at a higher level, in the sense that if you just that's more of a micro question, but if you just think of that as maybe a geopolitical or IR related issue, I think that's a important point there. As I was mentioning in my talk, that India actually is well positioned to also kind of have its own trade war with China, in the sense that because they're not so reliant on exports to China, rather imports. So China actually needs India more to buy its goods, right? So especially in terms of the high tech, the startup and all this kind of apps and all that are being banned now. It's a good game that India is playing now, because if they're having security issues and they're not able to retaliate in the security, in a hardcore security means, because of all the treaties that are existing, they can play around with economics. And economics, because China is a big economic power, they will get really, it will itch them. So for sure, this is going I'm sure, send a clear message to China. And I think India can, I saw a few articles recently start saying that India is actually, because it's positioned well to do this, it can be a role model for other countries, especially, for example, in ASEAN as well, who are very reliant on China and who also want to curtail China's influence, is to play the economic game. Because China is deeply, it's also connected to the previous question in terms of liberal order. I think China benefited from an open liberal order. Unfortunately, they didn't become democratic, as Uma was also saying. It was expected that they would become democratic around early 2010s, but after the new premier came in, everything changed. They're going the opposite direction now. So that has unfortunately gone the wrong way. The US as well has also gone the wrong way. So instead of providing, a simple example would be that just doing trade with Japan and US together would be a counterbalance or counterweight to China. Another good positive thing to kind of move away from China trade would also to improve quality. So we do benefit from, so as the question asked, we do benefit from cheap products that the Chinese companies make, but there is growing threat of surveillance, because China itself is being there's a lot of news and information about that. Levels of surveillance, they're really raising it up in the world. It's a big threat to democracy and the liberal world order. So that's the reason why Huawei is being curtailed as well. So obviously, as a developing country, we do want those cheap technologies. But I think now the real message actually is closer towards engagement, as Surendra was also talking about, is how we engage. India has a huge opportunity to now open up trade and also try to take benefit from trade, because I think everybody's waiting for India, as it self proclaims that it's going to be a great power, but everybody else in IR right now, outside India, thinks of it as a middle power. So it's high time India steps up the game and tries to become a global player, because it's got a huge market. It's got huge potential. It's got innovation, science, cheap. I think we are India is the only country that can actually give China's money a run, in the sense that it's the most competitive in terms of providing cheap solutions. So it's the time. Simple question, like, why can't an Indian app producer produce a similar app as the Chinese producer, and make it available and cheap for everybody to use? So there's a huge space for kind of India's potential in global economic sense, including trade and investment. So I think that instead of looking at it from what we gain or what we lose from China, I think actually India should be looking at import substitution. We should be looking at an open world and try to benefit from the open system. And since there's a pushback from China, I think this is the right time for India to benefit from that. Thank you.